So if you're listening to the show, you might know that I have been going through shit lately. And this really made me think that I would love to offer my group program, the Urban Cleanse group program. But this time I am part of the group. I would like to go back to losing the weight that I gained these past couple of years. And I would like to feel better in my own skin. And I know a lot of you do too. And I do know that my program does work if I only did it myself. So if you'd like to join, please go on www.organilicious.ch, click on the Urban Cleanse button and join us. It'll be loads of fun. We'll do it together. I will be your support, your knowledge, as well as your team member. I'm looking forward to see you there. Thanks a lot.
Hi, I'm Stando, and I am the creator of My Gratitude Challenge. I'm today's guest on the So Freaking Healthy podcast. Join us as we talk today about gratitude, all the different ways in which you can practice gratitude every single day, how gratitude can make you more resilient, and how you can experience all of it in My Gratitude Challenge.
How's it going?
Good. It's Friday. I'm so happy. I love recording on Fridays, actually. I feel like the week's done. Now we can just have a nice conversation and shoot the shit. So I was thinking the other day, I was listening to a podcast that was talking about a very dear movie to my heart. And I was curious, what's your favorite childhood movie?
I don't know if I can call it childhood, but definitely super young adulthood. It would be Clue.
Clue. Okay. Like the movie, the movie based after the board game, Clue.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
It's the best movie ever.
What did you like most about it?
First of all, I love, what's his name? Tim
Curry.
Tim Curry. I love him to pieces. I mean, I will watch any movie with this guy. He's just hilarious. And so, even Rocky Horror Picture Show, I'm like, best. But what I loved about it, first of all, every single character is just fucking hilarious. Like they just nailed every single character. And the fact that and this is not a spoiler, just kind of like be ready for it. I guess if you haven't watched it, watch it. But it's got numerous endings. So I don't know if you remember this. I mean, I watched it lately with the kids again because I was like, you guys have to watch this. And they loved it as well. But the funny thing is that they show you, they're like, this is what happened, or did it, or maybe it happened this way, or maybe it happened that way. So they kind of give you all the scenarios, and at the way end, of course, like the end. But it is just so funny, so witty, and so quick, and I just find it just one of the most hilarious movies. So I really, if I had to choose one, I mean, I could name probably 10 more, but if I had to choose one, it would probably, yeah.
Yeah.
What's yours?
Well, I would say it's my favorite because it's my first movie that I actually remember watching, which was Little Mermaid. And it came up recently because I was listening to a 3-part episode of Revisionist History by am I gonna forget his name? Don't let me forget his name. Something. Okay, I'm so horrible. I had his name on the top of my list and then it's gone. Anyway, Simon Maxwell. Okay, you're gonna have to cut all this out while I figure out what his name is. Anyway, the point is that they kind of redid The Little Mermaid in kind of like today's standard of like, they kind of analyzed the whole movie about like losing her voice and how this, I think it's a Hans Christian Andersen based book, or is it another, it's like an old, The Little Mermaid is like an old fairy tale. And it was based after this, one of the author, I should have written this all down before we started, but the author was gay, closeted, of course, in the 1800s, whenever he wrote it.
Right.
And Little Mermaid was about him reaching out to another guy who he thought had mutual feelings, and the guy rebuffed him, and he felt like he lost his voice and this kind of thing. So it was like Little Mermaid was like based on this thing.
I love that. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, I mean, you have to listen to the episodes because obviously I don't do it justice. Malcolm Gladwell. Fucking A. Malcolm Gladwell. Thank you very much, people. I found it in my punch bowl. Anyway, so then he hired is a strong word. They got Jodie Foster. They got your favorite armchair expert.
Dax?
Yes, Dax Shepard played the prince. And they did an audio version of like just the ending of the movie. They redid the whole thing. So it was really nice that it was such a deep dive into a childhood movie that I just took kind of for granted. But then he did such a great job of also telling the backstory and then also reimagining this whole thing. So it was just quite an experience, and it kind of brought The Little Mermaid back. But yeah, so that's my favorite childhood movie.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, that's what I meant, because I was like, oh, I could name so many kind of Disney things and in movies and characters and stuff like that, because I lived off of Disney. I mean, I would come home to my grandparents' house and they would sit, and that's how I learned English. That's why I actually spoke like Tweety Bird for like the first year of my life in America. But I would literally just sit there and watch like all the Warner Brothers and Disney's and everything. Mm-hmm. And of course, then the movies were just like, I grew up on like Dumbo and like all of these. But I think there's always this like one movie where you kind of go like, you got to watch this. This is the funniest thing ever, you know, or this will blow your mind. Like Memento. That was a mind-blowing movie.
Yeah. You know, like, I remember watching that one and going, what the hell did I just watch?
Yeah.
But if I had to pick one movie that I would watch over and over again, not Little Mermaid's not bad because it's a singing, you know, it's a musical and I like to sing. So I could do that one. But Princess Bride is my very, very close second. Yes. Because it's got the funny, it's got the romance, it's got everything in it. And I mean, it is just so good. And unfortunately, I think the generation we have now that are so used to like all of these very extreme action sequences or this very extreme romance, like I'm not sure if it translates as well now to the kids now.
Well, so this is the trick that I did, because I was, you know me, I'm such an annoying mom. I mean, like I really am. My kids didn't get to watch anything, and if they did, then it was very short, and it was in English, and it was not dubbed, and you know, I had my like, this is the way my kids are gonna grow up. And so what I did was they first watched the old school movies. And now we're kind of getting it, now that they, you know, have control over the remote and they watch whatever they want, or they kind of talk to friends and they find out about all the Avengers and all the like big ass movies. But we started them off with like Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3, Night at the Museum, all the Night at the Museum ones, you know, like, so we made sure to get them. And of course, Princess Bride. So we made sure, my little one, when he screams, remember in the torture chamber, when he's being like pulled and he screams, my little one like started crying. He was like, oh my God, what the hell? Like it was that, but that's because it's so close to reality versus like watching Avengers or something like that. And you're like, wow, well, that was obviously computer animated, you know? So I think it's like there's pluses and minuses with these videos, but I think that they now get to enjoy the old movies because we kind of introduced those first.
That's a good strategy. All right, so today we have Anna.
She actually spells her name A-N-N-A or A-N-I-A, and she promised me that she will explain why that is. Hey, Anna, how's it going?
Hi, Danna. Hi, Megan. All good. How are you?
Good.
We're good. We're super excited to have you on board today.
No, I'm super grateful that she's with us today.
Nice.
Ding, ding, ding.
Nice.
Well done.
Well, I am super grateful to be here as well and very excited to be one of your guests now. I very much enjoyed listening to the previous episodes, learning a lot. So yeah, it's fun to be now one of your guests.
Great. So You're joining us. First of all, we were commenting before how to pronounce your name correctly. Can we go ahead and start with that? Because I want to start on a good note.
Yeah, so I am known as Anna Stando. I'm known like this here in Switzerland and any other country that is not Poland, because in Poland, I'm mostly known as Anna Stando or as Ania. So Ania is the very casual version of my name, and Anna is the one that really goes on certificates and, in school, and when you are in trouble, perhaps, or when you're leading a major bank or something like this, then they are going to call you with your full proper name, Miss Anna Stando, the CEO, something. But other than that, Ania is the casual version.
Well, so now we know so much more about you. We know that you're from Poland, but you're living in Switzerland right now.
Correct? Yes.
Okay. And so we're all experiencing the same weather and cool. Mm-hmm. So in the same time zone, everything's now coming together.
The stars are aligned.
Yeah. So we're here to talk about gratitude and your business mission calling is gratitude. And the first question I have is, can you maybe just explain a little bit about gratitude in general and how you've stumbled into this or how it affected your life in a way that's veered you into this path that you're in right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Happy to. Yeah. So, when you ask people around, are you grateful? I think the majority of us are going to say, yeah, of course. I say thank you when it's due, and I am aware of all the good things in my life. And that's, how I would describe myself for many years as well. But the truth is that gratitude is often superficial. And there is a way to deepen our level of gratitude. And I stumbled across gratitude 2 years ago. I was pregnant with my second child, and it was during COVID. In autumn, winter, and the world was a very scary place. Obviously, due to the coronavirus pandemic, I wasn't really sure how it was going to affect the pregnancy, delivery of my baby, family visiting or not. Also, it was winter, right? Cold, rainy. We were in the lockdown, so spending a lot of time on our own, feeling heavy, in pain often. And then there were the US elections that for some reasons were affecting me quite significantly as well. So I felt really dragged down into a kind of a negative spiral, right? I spent a lot of time reading news and, about the doom and gloom in the world. And I wasn't feeling very well. I mean, it was nothing, nothing major, nothing huge, but I felt that I was tired of myself as well. And, some days I would just sit and cry and I wouldn't understand why it is. And a friend of mine came across a book about gratitude, and spontaneously she suggested that we would try it. And I had another friend who I thought would be interested in doing that as well. So I created a little group for the three of us to practice together. And I was so impressed by how much positive impact it had on my day if I was sometimes really forcing myself to be grateful, because on some days, you get up, you're tired, you ache, everything is wrong, you read the news, right? And it really didn't feel like there was something I wanted to be grateful for. But even when I made myself, right, and sometimes it was difficult, I really could feel my mood lifting. I could, I would smile a little bit. It would give me the energy to get out of bed, even if it was just for a few hours. I would really feel physically better and motivated to do something with my day. So that's how I start. That's how I kind of started practicing gratitude in a more structured way.
I love that. I actually went through something very similar. Well, similar is wrong because there's nothing similar to COVID and being pregnant through COVID and the US election. So I'm going to take that back, but it was probably about 10 years ago. I had two kids very, very close in age. So they're 15 months apart. And some of the listeners already know this story, but I was just super depressed, overweight, pain from head to toe. I was in the worst shape of my life, emotionally, physically, mentally, and everything. And my husband back then actually had that idea, or probably heard it somewhere, where we should just do like a gratitude diary and just write down 3 things that we are thankful for that happened during the day. And so we started that together on a holiday, actually. where the boys were just driving us insane. And we're like, oh my God, what have we done? And we started it then. And I just remember it making the holiday even a little bit more bearable with two tiny kids who just did not do what you wanted them to do, obviously. So yeah, and I think we've been practicing it actually ever since. So I love that it is doable when you're not already on a positive kind of space, right? Because sometimes it's so hard for you to pick yourself up off the floor and just kind of go like, you know what, I can't do this. And then really to prove that it actually does work when you're not necessarily in your best kind of headspace, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's remarkable that such a relatively simple thing, you know, it doesn't cost anything, it doesn't take a lot of time, you can do it any place, anytime, you can do it out loud, you can do it on your own, in your head, you can do it when you're standing in a queue, you can do it when you're changing the 10th nappy full of poo, and it works every time. And sometimes I start by, you know, being quite ironical about it, right? If I'm really having a tough day and then I notice that I'm going down this negative spiral again, I might start by saying, oh, I'm so grateful that my child vomited on me just a little bit. You know, remember the other time when when she vomited on me, like, you know, completely, or I'm so grateful it's just a vomit and not a punami, right? Just
so true.
Starting there, and then, you know, you make yourself smile with it, and then, yeah. But we started really quite deep, right? And the topic of kind of gratitude and resilience is very dear to my heart, and how it can help us to get through difficulties. So I would love to come back in a minute, but I just remembered that you asked me as well, what is actually gratitude, right? Because I think we have all assumptions about what is gratitude, right? It's kind of simple words is, you know, feeling thankful, right? And there is a definition by Robert Emmons, who is really the expert in the topic, and I really like it because it has two elements. So he says that on one hand, being grateful is acknowledging that there are good things in our lives, right? So that's one, knowing and acknowledging that there are good things in our lives. And that is maybe easier for us than the second part, because in the second part, he says that it's also recognizing that at least part of that good comes from outside of ourselves, that we don't have everything in our hands, that, you know, we have benefited from people's help or circumstances. And obviously that's difficult for some of us, especially in our culture of believing that self-made is best, and a lot of different things and attitudes around gratitude, right? That I'm also happy to tell you more about, right? Why is it difficult to be grateful? But coming back to the definition, right? It really has kind of two elements, right? Acknowledging that there are good things and recognizing that we have benefited, right, from circumstances and people who have helped us to be where we are now. How do you feel about it?
I agree.
I think I'm the skeptic because I've tried and failed so many times at this. You know, I've tried doing gratefulness or gratitude log or whatnot, and I find it difficult. One, because I'm a relatively positive person in general. I don't have a quite negative view on a lot of things. I don't like the feeling when I have a negative view or I'm pessimistic, so I'm quite optimistic most of the time. And then I find myself going, I'm thankful for my husband. I'm thankful for the apartment that I'm living in. I'm thankful for the job that I have. I'm thankful that my parents are still alive. I'm thankful that I have means to go home. I mean, and I felt like I repeated like the same 10 things again and again and again. And then I was like, well, it's not really doing much for me this way. And so that's why I'm a little skeptical, because it seems like for some people, I don't know if it comes so easily or if I was just doing it wrong. So those two things, I'm generally positive, so I'm not like in that negative mindset, and then not really like being able to identify more than 10 things in my life that I'm actually grateful for. So maybe you could help me out here with your expertise. And like, I'm sure you've met people like me. So what's wrong with me? How come I can't be grateful?
There is nothing wrong with you. And
Wait, sorry, stop.
Yeah.
No, you don't know her well enough. There's a lot wrong with me.
Okay, I take it back.
Okay, we'll let you go with that one. Okay. But yeah, help me out here. What can I do differently?
Well, so first of all, I believe that when we are feeling positive, gratitude comes naturally to us. So I feel you probably are grateful quite naturally when you are in your happy state, because when we are feeling positive, it's because we have had great experiences, because we are with people that we love, because we have fulfilling jobs, and we just have a nice day. And then it's easy, you know, to radiate that energy of happiness. And therefore, you know, if you weren't grateful, even if you're not saying to yourself consciously in your head, I'm really grateful that I have had such a fantastic day today, you must have been grateful for those experiences in order to feel so happy.
Okay, so I'm a superhero at gratitude.
You are a gratitude junkie who just does it unconsciously.
Give me some more of that good feeling. Yeah.
No, so I think that one, right? When we are in a good state of mind, when we are happy, it is because we recognize that there are good things in our lives, right? This is this part one of definition. If those all things were happening in your life and you are unhappy, then it would mean that you are ungrateful, right? Because you're not recognizing those good things in your life.
Yeah, actually, that's the one thing that pisses me off a lot, is when people are complaining and their life is from the outside pretty good. You know what I mean? I'm just thinking, like, why are you bitching and moaning about this stuff? I mean, like, you're in Switzerland and you have a job. I mean, sorry, these are two really amazing things to start with. And maybe I try not to judge too much, because obviously you don't know everyone's situation. You don't know their past. You don't know what they're dealing with. But I feel like somehow that's also coloring how I see other people when they complain about things that I'm thinking, why are you complaining about this? So maybe that's also an add-on effect of having this generally positive outlook in life. And I am grateful that I have not had any kind of major issues in my life, major problems. I haven't had to overcome superhuman things and change my whole life because of medical issues or accidents or anything like that. And so I can definitely see, for some people who have those things, that it might be more difficult because they've had a huge negative something happen in their life, and they're working back to understanding maybe how turning that negative experience into something positive. What did we learn from it? You know, you see this a lot with, you know, people who have amputees, for example. That's a very visual implication of something that has happened negatively, but now they have a platform to talk on, or they have something else. I also feel like I've never had such a big thing to overcome, so I'm not.
Thank God for that, right?
Yes, exactly. I mean, but it also means like, okay, well, yeah, I'm thankful for that I have a bookcase.
No. About the complaining, right? Oh God, yeah, it's such a disease. I'm going to complain and complain. And now I think there are already some studies that show that it has a really negative impact on your brain, and it can actually even lead to Alzheimer's. So that's one good reason to stop complaining. And I must admit that it's hard for me as well. And I come from a culture and a household where complaining is a national sport. You know, we love to outdo ourselves on who has it worse. I have come a long way. And yet sometimes I still, you know, catch myself complaining. So and complaining is a sign of not being grateful, right? You can't complain and be grateful at the same time. So yeah, coming back to what you said about, you know, can I be grateful for my bookcase? And, you know, I'm grateful for the same 10 things all the time. Yes, by all means. It's all good. Whatever it is that makes you, you know, happy, what makes your life easier or happier are good things to be grateful for. And it's good to, so, you know, if you were to kind of try it in a little bit different way, is to always try to make a list of kind of the bigger things in your life and the smaller things. And the bigger things are, you know, like you said, your husband, right, and having a job and a nice place to live, or whatever it is true for your situation. And those things should keep coming back in your gratitude list. Because one of the biggest obstacles to practicing gratitude is that we start to take the good things in our lives for granted. And that's the danger, right? And we know that, we take our partners for granted. That can have a very negative effect on our relationship. And when we take everything for granted, when we have this sense of entitlement, right, then nothing really brings us joy anymore, and our life starts to feel quite empty. And looking at the smaller things, right, is also very important. So a good way, to do that is to look at your day. What are the small things that happened? And being grateful for objects is fine. And there are so many things that are objects that I am grateful for. And every day I'm thinking, okay, what if I didn't have a laptop or my laptop broke? How would we do this podcast now? I mean, I would probably spend a lot of time stressing about it, right? Going around trying to, repair it or buying a new one, spending lots of money and so on and so on. So one trick that can help to appreciate the kind of the physical objects is to imagine life without them, right? How would it be not to have them? And then I very much believe in kind of feeling gratitude, right? So just going rationally through the list of things is probably not going to do much for you, as you said. But gratitude diary, what Danna was saying, has been proven to really have a very positive impact on people's lives, because there is this, head pen connection, and writing really helps us to make sense of our lives, and it helps to kind of cement what we are appreciating, and it helps to build that cushion that we can fall upon when things go wrong. Right. And that's, again, a kind of a metaphor that Robert Emmons is using a lot. And writing also makes you to slow down. Right. So if you really sit down and write down the stuff, and if you go beyond, I am thankful for my bookcase, and you add, the second part, I am grateful for it because, it makes you to really think about it, right? Why is it? And it's a trivial example. But when you actually write out, why are you grateful for that? Or are you grateful for your husband? Are you grateful for the sunny day today? And then it goes deeper in your heart. And yeah, I believe the gratitude really starts to work when you feel your heart kind of swelling with emotion, with warmth. And then you know that you have done it. And yeah, if I can, one more thing is kind of to take some time for it, right? So just going quickly for your list, especially when you have, difficulties at the beginning, it's not enough. But if you can take, 10, 20 minutes, actually sit down, write down, don't forget to include the because, imagine life without those things, then it helps to kind of shift perspective a little bit, and hopefully your heart will open up just a little bit more to appreciate. But also don't beat yourself up about it, right? If you are happy, if you see all the good things in your life, then it means that you are grateful, and there is no need to kind of force yourself to create practice that doesn't feel natural to you.
Yeah, this is something that I also have a lot of clients come up to me, and they're maybe experiencing like anxiety, depression, and things like that. And so I always talk to them about gratitude, because I think that's something that really made a huge shift in my life. And I think it is super helpful for others as well. And a couple of things that I always say is that one is, there's something that I kind of started doing as well with my family, because, being in a household with 3 guys is rough, man. It's rough. It really is. And now they're preteens. Well, they're teens, but they don't want me to say that. So they're preteens. They don't give a shit about what I say. Like, I'm talking to the walls practically the whole time. So when I'm standing in the room and I feel just aggravated with the situation, with husband, kids, whatever, the first thing that I do, of course, after just taking a deep breath, is I'll just look at them. And the first thing that I say out loud is, I love you. Right?
Yes, I heard about it on the other episode.
Yeah. And so that's the nice thing about it is that, like, it reminds me why I'm even in this space with these creatures that I cannot stand. Right. So that already kind of brings up the gratitude to begin with, because I do love them. I don't like them personally sometimes, but I love them. Right. So it kind of brings me closer to, like, what am I doing here? Like, what's the because, right? That Anna, that you were talking about, is that because, like, okay, I'm here. I'm trying to deal with you because I love you. And because I'm stuck with you for the rest of my life, so I might as well do this, right? And so that's kind of that one thing that comes to mind. And also something that I talked with my clients about is, and maybe Megan, something that you can think about, I don't know, Anna, what you think about this idea, is to look at past experiences that are not necessarily positive ones, and to find what you're grateful for within, or like what positive came out of that situation. right? So I don't know, this guy broke up with me and da 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 da, and you're sitting there all like miserable. And then you're like, okay, what is the positive that came out of that? Is that I don't know. Now my relationship with my husband is much better because I learned how to communicate better. I learned whatever, right? This is just one of many, but I had clients who came up to me with like just the shittiest life, CV of life in the last like year or two. And they're like, how am I supposed to say that I'm grateful for losing both my parents, losing the love of my life, like a list of things. And I'm like, you know what? It's not easy. It's not meant to be easy, right? If it's easy, like you said, Anna, like if it's easy, then you're grateful and it's great. But the shift that it does in your life and in what you see and what comes to you, like the energy that comes towards you when you're complaining, like Megan was talking about the people that just constantly complain, that shit will keep coming at them like flies, And when you shift that mindset and you're like, my life hasn't changed at all. I just changed it. I shifted my mindset. And therefore now I'm actually seeing the more positive. So I will be grateful, even on that list, I will write, okay, I'm grateful that I saw a teenager get up and let an old person sit on the bus, right? For me, that's heartwarming. For me, that's something that needs to happen more. And it was beautiful, especially in Switzerland, it's not happening enough, but it needs to happen more. And it's something that I saw that was beautiful, that made my heart grow. And so that goes on the list. So I don't think it has to be something that is specifically about you, for you. We can remove the ego out of it and just look around and grab onto those positives and just be grateful for those.
Yes. Oh my God, you brought so many interesting things. I don't know where to begin to comment, but maybe with the end then. Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't have to be all about you always, right? And Megan, don't feel kind of put on the spot. It's to you, Megan, and to everybody who is listening, who is thinking sometimes, what is this about? Yeah, as Danna said, kind of acknowledging all the good things that are happening in the world, right? It's just holding on to them just a little bit longer rather than let them fly by without a moment of appreciation. It has really a very positive impact on your life. And yeah, we know that, right, that what the brain does a lot, the brain gets good at, and it means that we can actually rewire our brain towards positivity or towards even more positivity if this is already going well. The silver lining, right, that you mentioned, Danna, yeah, I think so important. And I think it's important as well to recognize that gratitude is not a tool that kind of erases the negative experiences or a tool that minimizes the negative experiences, because that's often what people think as well. And that I have had quite a few interesting conversations on the topic where people tell me, no, but it's important to recognize all your emotions, go through that emotional turmoil, work through them and release them, because just putting them at the back of your head, is going to how you say it, backfire, exactly.
Yeah.
And I completely subscribe to that, right? I totally believe that we need to feel into our emotions, our feelings, and it's okay to be angry, and it's okay to cry, and it's okay, to feel ashamed. It's okay to feel disappointed, and it's absolutely necessary to work through all those feelings. And then it's also absolutely necessary to release them at a certain point, because that's just going to be better for our mental and physical health. And gratitude is just one, it's not the kind of the magic pill that does it all for you, but it's just one of those easy to apply, easy to start with tools that can help you to get through a negative experience, because it's a counterbalance, right? When there is something really wrong in your life and you keep practicing gratitude, then it can level a little bit the things. You can still know that, okay, that this is really bad, this is unfair, it shouldn't have happened, and I still have all those good things that I can be grateful for. And just shifted that perspective, right? It makes you sometimes realize that you have still things to live for, right? That there is hope.
I grew up in a Christian household in the Midwest, in the Bible Belt in the US. And as we're talking, what I'm realizing is that a lot of what you're talking about in terms of gratitude shows up in religion. And I don't know other religions, so I can't speak to other religions. I just know Christianity decently. And like, for example, praying, we always prayed before we ate, giving thanks for the food. I'm just thinking, oh, that was simple gratitude. We didn't really call it this, right? The whole like gratitude movement, like really focusing on it, has come in the last, couple years, decade or whatever. But I feel like probably gratitude is baked into a lot of different religions in a way that they do it, to be grateful for this. And also, like, same thing with the negative things happening, right? Oh, God's got a plan. There's something here. I will learn from this. This is something that maybe even I won't learn from it, but somebody else will take something away from my pain in this point. And that's part of this, God's plan. And I feel like that's all baked into religion. So I feel like probably I did do a lot of gratitude when I was growing up. And I grew up very poor household growing up, and we always had food and clothes and house, so it was nothing like destitute. And I definitely had a very good childhood, but we weren't taking extravagant family vacations, or we didn't have a pool in the backyard. We had cows and a sandbox, and so we learned to play with what we had, but it was more of like a natural, like, this is what we have. So I feel like maybe that's also, when you come from having less to having more, you naturally feel more grateful. And maybe those people who have generally been born with a silver spoon in their mouth and have always had everything they've needed, goes back to what you were saying, is that they just take it for granted that that's the way life is, that, that they will go to the best Ivy League school, or they will get the best job because of this and because of that. And, kind of the social and economical class that they're in provides them with more opportunities, but they don't even realize that those are the opportunities they have because they've always had them. This kind of, I know we just took a big left turn, but I feel like that's what when I was listening to both of you, that's what I was getting out of this, is that maybe that's the reason why I'm feeling so grateful, because I make more money in Switzerland than I need, and have a wonderful place. And so, it's like, and I also came from a wonderful family. I think some people are just blessed with that kind of attitude, and other people, unfortunately, never get to learn it or have to learn it because they've never been in a situation where they've gone from let's say, a less cushy situation to a more cushy situation.
I mean, I also see it the other way around as well, with people where, they've lived an okay life, but something just shook their world, right? And when something shakes your world, depending on your situation, you could take it lightly in a way, you could take it positively, or you could be like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, and that shake can really put you in that funk of negativity of like, why is everything shitty happening to me right now? Mm-hmm. Which will inevitably bring more shit, right? Or you can really kind of go like, okay, I acknowledge this feeling, but, or and if you want to keep it to a positive, right? But I think every individual will see it in a different way and have different things happen. Some people fall into depression because physiologically they're missing certain nutrients, like they're not balanced within themselves, like physically. And so that could also lead to negative thinking. And that could lead to, again, we can catch it, nip it in the head, or we can kind of roll with it and ride that negativity wave, which will then bring more negativity to your life, I guess. So like, I see your point, but I think it could be any situation and any person,
Yeah, I think many people have indeed like a wake up moment, right? They either go for something difficult, they have gone for something difficult, a disease, for example, right? And then they come out and they say, oh my God, it was a close call. I've now appreciated a little bit more what I have. It's exactly what Megan was talking about at the beginning, right? That you didn't need to overcome any major, life-threatening diseases and similar. But for some people, it's that moment. For some other people who are a little bit more aware that they have it well, I see them often volunteering, because they say, okay, I need to put those things into perspective. And I know really quite a few most extraordinary people who have had it really, really well, but who were brought up, right, in a way to say, okay, we are lucky And then again, this is recognizing that part of that luck is outside of their control, right? That it's not they've all made that fortune or whatever just on their own, and they're, just, super intelligent and the best people on the planet. And of course, they deserve this, but they tell others, we are lucky. And they volunteer. They volunteer by their either, going to volunteering, going to refugee camps, volunteering for some organization, collecting money. And I think that's a great way to put your own situation in perspective. And this is something that worries me as well. And my partner, we can talk about, the fact that we also came from less, and then therefore it's more natural for us to appreciate that luck, that prosperity here in Switzerland, the beautiful mountains, right? The security on the street, right? You name it. But how are we going to teach our children? Not to, I think in his words is how to not to turn into self-absorbed brats. Yes, exactly. I was like, how do we make sure that they also appreciate those things? Because they are being, for us, the life that they are living is, a life of a silver spoon. We just had birthday for our son, right? And the amount of gifts, right? Not from us necessarily, right? From us also was a big gift, but then from friends and family. And so it just kept coming, right? And it was wonderful. And very often we already thinking about, okay, what can we do, right? How are we going to ensure that they know what they've got and it's not a standard? Yeah, I don't know. Danna, how do you do that at home?
I am not the best parent.
Well, you often start every argument with "I love you," so that's a good, and not every child is blessed to have, parents.
I mean, I can't just be like, I really want to punch you in the face every single time, So what we noticed is that we're the same. So we both were brought up. I was a little princess at home. I don't know if it was like material wise, but I was a princess. I was the firstborn of two firstborns of a big family. So I was just treated as the princess for the first 6 years of my life until my sister came along. So I was spoiled rotten, really. I'm quite surprised at how well I turned out comparatively. But then my husband was growing up to his dad was a musician, his mom was a nurse, very, very humble life, very kind of small, materials wasn't like big gifts or anything like that. And then we met and we were like, okay, we want to give the kids what we never had, right? So as parents, we always kind of say we want to give them more, but at the same time, we realize that they lose, how should I say this? It just means nothing to them at the end. It's yet another gift and they play with it for 5 minutes and they put it aside and then it's done, or they play just with a box at a certain age, right? And it doesn't mean anything. So what we actually started doing is switching to experiences. So we're having experiences and a gift is an experience rather than here's another Lego set and here's another shoe and here's another whatever. But I have to say, we have both at home. We have a kid who can probably live off of bread and water if I gave him bread, which I don't. But literally, he would be not, on nothing, and he's super grateful for everything. And then the other one's I need the newest Nikes and I need the hottest shoes and the hottest pants and the hottest this and that. And so he's a little princess on his own. And so for him, the experience is nice, but it's not, you have to think a little bit outside the box for him. So he's getting bunnies for his upcoming birthday because we figured it's an experience, yes, but it's also a responsibility. So for him, it's a little bit harder to kind of dig through and figure it out.
But I hope, and I think that's how it's going to turn out. The long term, as an adult, he's going to look back at all those experiences and he's going to realize that
they matter more than the shoes.
Right? Yeah, that how much effort you put into creating fun memories and what kind of a privileged life he has had to be able to have those experiences, but also to have really parents who care, right? And who put so much effort and time to actually organize something that is memorable.
Yeah. I mean, you always hope that with kids. I will say this with every episode. I think Megan's sick and tired of me saying it, but parenting is the hardest job ever. And it's not as rewarding as people tell you it is, right? It's not. It's great when they're asleep and they're beautiful, right? Or when they hug you and then they kiss you and they tell you how pretty you are. That's awesome. But that's 1% of the day, really. Let's get real. The rest is chasing after them and making sure they don't make the sofa black and don't kill themselves on the road and all these things. So it's a very exhausting job. But I think that at the end of the day, we as parents have to come up with how to show them the real world without overwhelming them. Right. So what we did was take them to volunteer for Ukraine, for example. We always volunteer. We give things. We try to kind of get them involved in that. And I think that's helpful without actually sitting them down in front of the news as they used to do with me, where in Israel, it's like a thing where the news are on from 7 a.m. until 10 at night. And that was a little bit too much. Like it's a bit too much, especially for kids who are growing up like wallflowers here in Switzerland. But I think that that's really important. And I think that really just kind of putting more value to experiences than to material things, which will therefore make them appreciate these things more, right? Appreciate going out. My kids, if I go like, let's go into the supermarket, like a fancier supermarket. Migros doesn't do it for them, but like Al Natura, let's walk into Al Natura together. And they're like, oh my God. And they'll walk in there and they'll look at all the ingredients with me and they'll choose whatever is cool. And they'll walk out and often they'll be like, this is the best day ever. And I'm like, I love you. Like now I genuinely love you because this was so easy.
Totally rewarding. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of me thinking like, what museum should I take them? And this one's stupid expensive. And then you have to chase them and both are going in different directions. And you're like, oh my God, I lost my kids in a split second. You know, it's funny that way. But like, I think the time that we spent with them, the quality versus quantity, right? Like the time that we spend with them, the things that we do with them, the education that we provide to them, I think that's so much more valuable. And I think they don't, maybe at a certain age, they don't necessarily see it because they see my friend got a Barbie and I didn't. But when the time comes, when their parents or when they're like young adults, they do learn to value it. So it might not be rewarding in the moment, but I think I see it now with my parents too. I'm like, wow, you guys, I didn't think you did a good job, but yeah, you're okay.
And that's what my boyfriend says often as well about his parents, and he's got 3 sisters. And every year they would go for a big holiday. And it would be really a stretch, a financial, 4 children, pay for 4 children, right? To go anywhere is already, an effort. So for a whole year, basically they would be saving up for those experiences, right? So it may mean that the everyday wouldn't be perfect, perhaps the fanciest dresses and so on, but ultimately they would have those holidays and okay, it's only 2 weeks, you may say, only out of the entire year. It's not that they had horrible lives, right, for a year, but they weren't getting the latest gadgets. But then they had those holidays and now they have those memories and those pictures and they just love it.
Yeah. I think that the nice thing to do as a parent is to, for you even, Anna, after your kid had a birthday, how old is he?
3.
Okay, so that's already a good time to ask, what did you enjoy the most from your birthday? You would think he'd be like, oh yeah, it was that Lego set or robot or this or that or dinosaur that I got. But he will most likely tell you like how you made the cake together or how there was this time that you did something together. That's what they actually remember. And that's the nice thing about it. That's when it clicks.
What he remembers is the sparkler, the candle that fully traumatized him and he hit on the table. So it's really this example of negativity bias, of focusing on that one thing that wasn't perfect.
Oh,
he was really fire, right? And he hit on the
scary.
Table. It was really quite funny for us to watch. He came out only when the fire was gone. But the one thing that we do often is asking ourselves, what is the best thing that happened today? Right? And that you can do that with your partner, with your friend, with your children as well. And obviously now he starts to get the concept, right? As he's learning speech and so on. Yeah. But with our partner, we do that very often, right? Just before going to sleep. So what's the best thing that happened today? And I thought, ooh, right? And then you start to list all the good things that happen in a day while you are trying to come up with that one good thing that happened. And you end up on a really good note, saying, hey, that was actually a very good day. So yeah, so Megan and everybody else who's listening and thinking, oh, it's so complicated. What's that fast about, or how to do it properly? Just like asking yourself, what's the best thing that happened today is an expression of gratitude. And your mental health and your physical health will be grateful for you doing that.
Hey, by the way, Megan, when is our next episode coming out?
Well, that's an interesting question, Donna, since I was waiting for you to finish the editing.
But I finished it last week. I'm waiting for you, Megan, to make the social media posts.
Aha. Well, I can't do the socials until you upload the file.
Okay, listeners, if you really want to know when our next episode is live, please make sure you sign up for our email list.
Yep, just click the link in the show notes to sign up. I am curious from a scientific point of view, because you mentioned this on your website and you talk about how it's science-based data about how practicing gratitude can improve your well-being. Mm-hmm. Could you maybe dive into this a little bit? What kind of research has been done? Like, for example, I know stress levels can be measured in the body with certain hormones and, it can be actually measured because of the different chemicals that are going on in your body. So do you feel comfortable talking a little bit about the science behind it?
Yes. So I think exactly what you said about the stress level is one of the things that is kind of the most measured, right? So that often what's done in the science of gratitude, it's the simple everyday practices, right, that people have to do. So in one study, people were asked to keep a gratitude diary, and for I think 6 weeks, and they just needed to write once a week. They needed to make a list once a week. Right? And a lot of the studies are also made on kind of the self-reporting levels, right, of happiness. So in that particular study, people would really report, feeling significantly better after keeping a gratitude diary for just 6 weeks and just writing once a week in it. In another study, people's sleep was measured as well after doing gratitude practice, a short gratitude practice in the evening, and apparently just spending that few minutes every evening thinking about all the good things in your life makes you sleep better, which obviously has a positive impact on your entire day afterwards.
Good. Yeah, it's difficult nowadays to talk about science because so many people are like, I just don't believe what the scientists say anymore. Unfortunately, we're in the...
Yeah, and the research on gratitude is quite new, right? There is really 20, 30 years that is being reported, but the most findings, so first of all, there isn't that much body of a research yet, but the ones that are there, they're really pointing out just general levels, just increased levels of happiness, self-perceived better mental health, and more tranquility, being able to deal with negative emotions a little bit better. And I think that's amazing. And I think what you said about studies and people sometimes not believing certain research and so on. Yeah, I always think that if you think that something is working on you, on a certain diet or gratitude practice, or may it be fasting, or I don't know what else is there, or believing in the law of attraction, right? Which I do very much. If you think this is working for you, then by all means keep doing it, right? And maybe don't disregard from the bat, right?
Yeah. And maybe now's a good time to mention your website, first of all, mygratitudechallenge.com, and which is pretty easy to remember. You hit the jackpot with that URL, by the way. That's a very good one. But maybe you could explain a little bit about what your challenge is. Why is it 28 days? What can people expect to happen? I know it's right now limited to Europe because you actually send some physical things, which I was surprised to read because so could you maybe dive into how does that work and what people would expect?
Very happy to, but also for all the listening kind of entrepreneurs and on the comment of the jackpot with the website. Actually, my URL first was mygratitudechallenge.org because .com was not available. And then one day I started to receive 20 emails from different domain service providers that .com has become available, and they wanted to sell me that for hundreds of dollars or pounds or whatever they were coming from, to which my tech lady just went to some Polish platform and bought it for 10 francs. Yeah, I just got started regardless, and then the universe brought me the .com as well. So that might happen as well for everybody else.
Nice.
My Gratitude Challenge is a 28-day program that teaches gratitude. It speaks about the different benefits of cultivating a grateful mindset. It speaks about why is it difficult to do so sometimes, as much as we did today, going a little bit more in depth. It also showcases some studies, and every day there is a challenge that you have to do. So that's why it's called a challenge, right? Because there is a theme for the day. There is a video. It's normally around 5 minutes. And in that video, I explain certain things on any given day. And then I tell people what to do. And it's always connected kind of to appreciating what's good in your life right now, appreciating what happened in the past. Sometimes it's also looking for the silver lining, as we talked about, and even appreciating our future as well. So also kind of applying the law of attraction and manifestation techniques as well. And it's 28 days because I believe that's long enough to kind of develop a habit of gratitude. I think there are really different studies, again, that tells you what's the ideal time to kind of having your habit. I think 21 or 28, if you do it consistently, then, you get a good hang of things. And even if you don't do it, every single day going forward, you have practiced enough to kind of call in those skills when you need them. And indeed, there is a gratitude box, just for a little bit of, fun. You have to think advent calendar. So on a certain day of a challenge, you can open a goodie. And it's just a symbolic little thing that is designed to make you smile. And it's related to the challenge. So it really helps you to execute on your task that given day. It serves a little bit as a kind of a motivation sometimes for people to kind of keep going, right? Because they know every few days I can open something. So it helps to build that habit. And it feels like a reward. And just, I don't know, the people absolutely love the box. They definitely don't sign up to the challenge because of the box, because I give quite little information about what's inside and what to expect. But I know that it always receives a lot of love. Yeah, and then there is also an optional community where people can actually share the learnings, change. There are also optional live group calls, but that's kind of on top. And some people choose to do the journey on their own, learn something new every single day, do the task on their own. And some love to take this further to the group as well and exchange. And the next challenge starts on September 5th already. And the registrations have opened and we have the first participants already in. So I'm very much looking forward to the next round. And the current round actually finishes just in a few days.
Oh, nice. How many times a year do you open this challenge?
Well, so it has been 5 this year since I started. Okay. So I don't know yet what's that going to be going forward. So far, it has been very ad hoc. One finishes and then I start to think about when it's going to be the next one. So I'm very proud to say that the next round is already open and set up, and because that's progress. It also has to do with the fact that I will be going independent soon. So I've resigned from my job. I'm going to focus more on my gratitude challenge and also on some other projects. So I've got a little bit more time and energy to give it the love and attention that it deserves.
That's wonderful.
Excellent. I'm with you. I just quit my corporate job after 17 years. So I'm also in that frame of mind of like, God, I can do so much now. So yes, I'm right there with you. Yeah. Oh, that's exciting.
Does it count if I never had a corporate job?
No, you don't get to say anything.
No, sorry.
You have never had a corporate job?
No.
Wow.
See, it's just like I can't say anything when you guys talk about your kids. I haven't had any kids, so and I'm not going to have kids, so no comment. All I can say is when my husband and I see parents with kids, we're all looking at each other going, okay.
Dodged a bullet.
And we are looking at you and thinking, remember these days? What?
No.
Yeah.
So Anna, what are the different types of gratitude? Because we were talking about writing things and we were talking about kind of noticing them, maybe speaking them out loud, but are there any other ones that you can say to give people options? Megan spoke about like writing it down doesn't do it for me. Like what would be the different types of gratitude that people can actually try and see what works for them?
Yeah, so the other one that we spoke about as well was this, what's the best thing that happened today? Which is a great conversation started, or what's the best thing that happened this week if you're catching up with your friend, right? And puts you both automatically in a good mood rather than, hey, how are you? And, my job or whatever, right? La, 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 because we have the tendency to focus on the negative. And another way to practice gratitude is to design your own 2-minute gratitude practice that you can do every single day. And I love that actually. And I do that almost every single day. And sometimes, even twice a day or 3 days a day. And it's quite simple. You need to identify an activity in your day that you do every single day that doesn't require a lot of cognitive power because you do it quite automatically. Right?
Like brushing your teeth or something.
Exactly. Brushing your teeth or going with your dog or dressing yourself up or drying your hair or something like that, right? Or waiting on a bus stop, right? And the bus is coming in 2 minutes or the bus is coming in 3 minutes and you kind of scroll through your phone, right? So finding something like this that you do every day or almost every single day, and then committing that you're going to spend the first 2 minutes just thinking thoughts, of gratitude. What is it that I can be grateful for today? Or what is it that I can be grateful for that happened yesterday? I like to do it in the moment. So what is it that I can be grateful for today? But for example, if you start in the morning with brushing your teeth, you can, and you didn't do the evening practice, you can then think back to your day yesterday about all the good things and then finish with giving thanks in advance for another wonderful day ahead. And I do that when I do my coffee, right? So I've got an espresso machine and then I go and press the button and I stand there and I see the blinking and then I press the button and I see the coffee coming down. And the 2 minutes sometimes feels really long, right? Because it's like normally you just leave it and come back, or you would be on your phone or just chatting to somebody. But when you actually stand there in the moment, take that mindful moment for yourself and sometimes it takes me a few seconds really to come up with something, right? It's like, hey, because you're so much focused on your work and you're like, go, go, go. And then you're like, wait, a moment for gratitude. Okay, what can I be grateful for? And it really, I think it's a good way. Gratitude diary with your kids, right? Or family booklet. That's what we do as well. It's not every day. Sometimes we don't do that for 2 months and then suddenly we do that 5 times in a week. When they just do something funny and sweet, or we had a nice experience together, we write down a few things for that. And one day we hope to have many notebooks like this that we can kind of pass on to them so they can see how their life was as little children. Another one great with the kids as well is a gratitude jar. So literally taking a jar, decorating the jar. If we've got preschool kids or young children, but also teenagers, they may love it, right? Decorating and then putting some snippets of paper and then asking ourselves at the dinner table again, right? What is it that we can be grateful for? Everybody writes one thing, you put it in the jar. Now, when the jar gets full, you take it all out. And then you have one evening where you just read through all those notes, right? And you're like, oh yeah, I forgot that. Indeed, this happened or that happened. Yeah. Does it give you some ideas?
For sure.
I like the idea of the jar, and I don't think you should limit that to children because I love crafting. Give me a reason to cut something and glue something together, please. I love it.
Yeah. So you can have a cardboard or whatever, right? Yeah. Or make a collage of all those things that you can be grateful for. And they don't need to be words. It may be a picture, right? As well.
Yeah, I do that. Somehow I do it digitally as well. So I'm Danna is very analog. I am digital analog. So I like my analog stuff, but I also like my digital stuff. So I have a digital journal, Day One. It's a very popular digital journal. And that's also somewhere where you can have multiple journals and you can have a gratitude journal digitally. But anyway, it's not gratitude, but it's something similar because it makes me laugh. My husband, have you ever met those people who are super funny when they have no idea they're being funny, right? Which even makes it so much more funny, right? And he's German, but he has a great grasp on the English language. But nonetheless, there are times when he would say the funniest shit. And I'm like, I have got to remember this. And I started calling them, his name is Jorn. And so I started calling them Jornisms. And I have a hashtag in my digital journal called Jornisms. And we would read back through them. And it would make us laugh all the time because, like, just as an example, in German, the table is a Tisch and the plate is a Teller. And you know that phrase, it was so good I could lick the plate, right? Because the food was so good. And he's like, it's so good I could lick the table, just because he got the two mixed up. But I feel like that's another good way to like Tish and well, in his mind, Tish and Teller.
Or Tish and Bish, yeah.
And then, yeah, anyway. But nonetheless, he says this super funny shit all the time. And I made this journal, and then every once in a while, we just go through and read them. And I just die laughing. So I could see that this is a good one. But I think instead of even waiting till the jar is full, it's like when everybody's kind of had like a down day, that might also be a good day to say, okay, everybody's feeling kind of in the dumps today. We're not in a good mood. Maybe we just had an argument, or we're just in general, the weather is kind of gross and sad. Let's read through the gratitude jar. So even before it's full, using it as a reminder, either analog or digital.
Well, look at you, Megan. You have turned into a complete advocate, and you're coming up with ideas how to how to make gratitude practice your own. I love it.
I'm a quick study.
She is.
I was always convinced. I don't want to put that out there. The skeptic part of me was that I couldn't make it work for myself, or I didn't have some revelations. So I was never against gratitude. Maybe I should have made that clear at the beginning, but no, I was always sold. I just needed to know how to drive the car that I was just bought.
You know, I'm going to edit that out, and everyone's going to think that you were just against gratitude, right?
Stupid gratitude. You don't need me.
That I'm keeping.
Yeah. So thank you, Anna. This was awesome. I'm very happy to have met you and learned about gratitude. It opened my eyes a lot, so I appreciate your time. Danna, good for you too?
No, it was terrible. I'm never going to speak to you again. No, it was really awesome. Thank you so much, Anna. It was really, really a pleasure to speak to you, to pick your brain about these things, to hear more about your own life. And I hope that our listeners take at least one little tip out of all of the ones that we discussed today to put a little bit more gratitude in their life as well.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I was really happy to be here. I really enjoyed the conversation as well. Danna, thanks again for this opportunity. Megan, I feel like, I knew you already before coming up with this podcast because I've listened to you so much. So it's really fun to meet you virtually and then have a conversation with you as well. So yeah, thanks again.
Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the So Frickin' Healthy podcast. Before you leave, take a screenshot of this episode you're listening to right now and share it out on your Facebook stories. And when you do so, be sure to tag @SoFrickinHealthy so we can see that you're listening. Sharing on stories is going to help more people find this podcast so they too can be so frickin' healthy. And if you really love us, head over to Apple Podcasts right now and leave So Frickin' Healthy a review to give it a boost. You'll find links to our Facebook page in the show notes. See you later. Hey, you're still listening. Great. Okay, now I can tell you about my 12-week goal setting session. So in this 1-hour session, I'm going to help guide you through a powerful process inspired by the best-selling book, The 12-Week Year. I know. Everybody at this time of the year starts to think about year-long goals. And I would argue that year-long goals are really hard to contextualize. What is going to be happening in a year from now? You have no idea. But 12 weeks gives you a little bit better understanding because you kind of already have your calendar booked out for the next 12 weeks, kind of know what's going to be going on. So if you can focus your goals on the next 12 weeks, you can make some really big actionable steps towards your long-term vision. So in this 1-hour session, we do talk about long-term vision. We talk about where you want to be. We talk about what your 5-year, 10-year, 3-year, all those goals are. But that's only a brief part. We know, we see the long distance view, but let's break that down. And then we get into the 1 to 3 strategic 12-week goals that are going to get you to those long-term vision. Then we're going to put that into a really cool action plan with like checklists and timing and all that jazz to make sure that you are clear and that you have accountability to get those goals done. And then that's not it. Then we are going to tackle your roadblocks, because you know you have roadblocks. So we're going to tackle those roadblocks. We're going to create a plan to overcome them. So you know when you start to self-sabotage, you know what you can do to get around those roadblocks. Okay, so if this is interesting for you, it is only 1 hour of your time and it's only 45 Swiss francs. I host this gig over on Fiverr, but I'm also going to put a link down in the show notes. So if you're interested, hit me up.